Hello there, my dear students. Once again, this is Teacher Henry, and today we're going to discuss about how to find the square root of a number. First and foremost, we know very well and we are very familiar with the square root. Example, let's say we have the square root of 9. That gives us 3, which means when you think of a number, let's say 3 times 3 will give us the product of 9. Let's say we have 100. The square root of 100 is 10 because 10 times 10 equals 100. But what about if we are looking for the square root of a 4-digit number? So we have 4 steps also on how to do that. And we will make it very simple for you to understand. Here we go. For example, number 1, we have the square root of 1521. Every time I teach my student about the square root, I always give this as my first example. You know why? Because this reminds me of the year when the Spaniards colonized our country. That's very amazing. So, how do we get the square root of 1521? Listen to this. You first put an apostrophe for every 2 digits. So, 1, 2, you put an apostrophe here. Now, this apostrophe would only mean that this number 1521 can be grouped into 2. One is 15, the other one is 21. So the first step that we're going to do is we're going to get the nearest perfect square of 15. It could be a little bit less than 15, but it should not go beyond 15. So before that, I'm going to show you the list of the square or perfect squares of a number. We have 1 square will give us 1. Simply because 1 times 1 equals 1. And then I'll proceed to the next numbers. 2 squared, 3 squared, 4 squared, 5 squared. This will give us values like 4, 9, 16, and 25. Now, you might be thinking, why do I have to list this down? When we get the square root of 4 digits number or more than 4 digits number, this is very important in learning. Okay, let's continue. We have now 6 squared, we have 7 squared, we have 8 squared, and we stop here, 9 squared. Later, you will understand why we stop here. Here we have 36, 49, 64, and 81. So which number here, the blank ink, is nearest to 15 but will not go beyond 15? Apparently, that is 9. If we choose 16, that's beyond 15. So we choose 9. And the square root of 9 is 3 because 3 times 3 will give us 9. So how are we going to do this? You put the 9 here, below 15, and the 3 here, do not write the square, is above the 15. Okay? And just like in ordinary division, we're going to subtract these two numbers. So 15 minus 9 will give us 6. Just to remind you, sometimes subtraction process is a little bit tricky. So you have to be very careful in finding the difference of two numbers. Because once you make a mistake here, just a simple mistake, the whole thing will be ruined. Meaning you cannot get the correct answer. Because the first step is you get the number, the perfect square nearest 15, but don't go beyond 15. And then you're going to write the 9 here, below 15, and the 3 above 15. That's the first step. The second step will be you subtract these two numbers. 15 minus 9 will give us 6. And this time, you're going to bring down these 2 digits. Unlike in division process, we just bring down 1 digit. Here, you have to bring down right away 2 digits. Before it's 6, now it's 621 because we brought down the 2 digits. Now, after this, we pause for a while. But remember, this number here will be very, very critical when we find the final answer. The third step now is this. You write the first number here and always multiply it by 20. Not 21, not 19, but 20. So let's get the product. 3 times 20 will give us 60. Can you imagine? That's the only step we have for the third step. Now, after we have that, we will now go to the last step. And that is, first we have to think that you think of a number added to this product, and the sum of these two numbers, you have to multiply it by the same number. Example, if I assume number 2, we add this 60 plus 2 will give you 62, and we have to multiply this 62 by the same number 2. Okay, here's the key. Once you multiply this, your product here should be equal to this 621. And obviously, this will only give us 144. So it's too far from this number 621. Meaning, the assumed value is not correct. Now, you might think, meaning I'm going to assume all these numbers. That's why it's only up to 9. You cannot use the 10 here. You will have 2 digits here. So yes, you're going to choose from 1 to 9. But there's another technique so that your process of finding the square root will be easier. And this is how it goes. Now, remember this. You look at the last digit, the ones place value of your problem, of your number. And that is 1. And the important thing here is, this one here will indicate the perfect square or the perfect square of numbers having 1 as the last digit. Meaning, it could be this number, there's 1 here, or this number. So you don't have to assume all the numbers from 1 to 9. And that will surely shorten your computation. Since we have 2 choices only, but the answer here should be 1 or 9, not 1 and 81. Okay, let me repeat that. Since this is 81, the last digit is 1, and we have here 1, doesn't mean that your answer here is 81 or 1. No, it should be the square root of 81, which is 9 or 2. So you have only 2 choices. It's either you use the 1 or the 9. Now, if 1 is wrong, if you choose one number here and this is not correct, as 621, obviously the second number will be correct. No other choice. Okay? So let's do it. Let's say you choose 1. So plus 1 will give us 61. And multiplied by the same number, 1 will only give us 61. And apparently, this is very far. Meaning, if the chosen or your assumption of 1 is not correct, obviously this will be correct. Let's do it. So let's erase and let's replace it by the other number. And for sure, this should be the correct answer. So let's say we have 9 here. 60 plus 9 will give you 69. And 69 multiplied by the same number 9 should give us this number. Let's check. 9 times 9 will give you 1, carry 8. 9 times 6 will give you 54. And 54 plus 8 will give you 62. As you can see, they are completely the same. Meaning to say, the last number that you're going to write here is 9. And that would mean the square root of 1521 will always be 39. How do you check? You simply multiply 39 by itself and it will give you a product of 1521. Meaning your answer 39 here is correct. I hope you get that very well. Let's have another example. We have the square root of 3249. How do we find the square root? Let's first count the digit. 1, 2, we put apostrophe here, just like what we did here. So, we have 2 groups, 32 and 49. Now, what do you think is the nearest perfect square for 32? But do not go beyond 32. Which number here? Correct. This is 25. Because if you choose 36, that's already over 32. So, we choose 25. You write the 25 below and the 5 above. Let's do it. So we say this, we have 5 here. 5 times 5 will give us 25. Now, it's just like multiplying this by itself will give us 25. And again, the second step is you subtract. I see now we're subtracting 2 digits number. Gotta be very careful. So the answer is 7. Or if you want to check, 25 plus 7 will give you 32. And again, we bring down the 2 digits. And we stop here for a while. So your remaining number will be 749. We stop there for a while. So we get this number 5 just like what we did here. And multiply it again by a constant number 20. No other number but 20. Now the product is 100. Now let's check and investigate the given number. We know that the last digit or the ones place value is 9. Which of this perfect square ends in 9? So we have this one or this one. Meaning to say the only choice that we have, it's either 3 or 7. Now, let's assume one number. What do you want, 3 or 7? Let's just say we choose the smaller number, 3. So let's say plus 3, like this one, will give us 103. And multiply it with the same number, that will only give us 309. It's not correct. Because it's not correct, the second one will surely be correct. Let's prove that. So I'm going to erase this number here, and this one. The 3 here is not correct, we choose 7. So 100 plus 7 will give us 107. That's very simple. Then we multiply this 107 by the same number, will give us 7 times 7 will give you 9, carry 4, 7 times 0 is 0, plus 4 will give you 4, and 7 times 1 is 7. Obviously, it's perfectly equal to the remaining number. Meaning to say, your last digit will be 7. And the square root of 3,249 is nothing but 57. Okay, let's make it a little bit slow. We're going to again review the first step. The first step, after you put a parenthesis here, you choose the number nearest to these first two groups, 32 or 51. And for this, let's concentrate on this number. 32, the nearest is 25. That's the first. So we were able to get the nearest number. You write the 25 here and the 5 above. Okay, just remember the smaller number should be above and the bigger number will be below. Then you subtract. Once you get the difference, you bring down right away the 2 digits number. And that is your second step. Subtract and bring down. The third step will be just multiply the first number before we don't have yet the 7 here. So 5 times always by 20 will give us 100. And now the last step will be you investigate the first digit, which is the ones place value, and that is 9, and you check which of these black ink numbers or the perfect square will be equal to 9, or at least the last digit is 9, and that is 3 or 7. Now we choose between these two numbers. We're not going to investigate or check all the numbers. So we are only limited to 2. So we first examine 3, and we did not get the value of 749. So obviously, if the first one is wrong, the other one is correct. If you make it a point that you choose the right one right away, you don't have to check for the second number, because this is already your answer. So you see, there are only 4 steps on how to get the square root of a number. And how do you check whether your answer is correct or not? Simply multiply your answer by itself, and it should be the product of the given number. So that's all for today, and thank you once again for listening. I hope you learned something and you find the solution very easy to understand and to learn. So I just hope that you're going to practice more process or more solving of finding the square root of a number. Thank you so much.